So just to let you know, there's Sanford. It's very close to Orlando. It's just down the road, about 20 miles from Mount Dora. We have an airport. I'll just do this Chamber of Commerce stuff here. 20 minutes from Orlando, 55,000, established 1877, third business airport in Florida. Now this is the interesting part, and this is why this program is so important to us. 90% of our downtown buildings built before 1920 are still intact, and many of them haven't been painted since 1920. So it's So our CRA was created in 1995, expires in 2015, so we're now in our last 5 years, and anything that we do now, we better do quick because we don't have much time left. And I'm going to be hiring Gus as our consultant to get us extended another 20 years in 2015. We cover approximately 2 square miles in downtown Sanford and the waterfront. I'm going to need one of those counters, you know, an internet-based counter this at one time said 1.5 million, and then it said 1.4, 1.3. Now it's 1.2, and in my next presentation, I shudder to think what it's going to be. So that's where we are. We're right on the lake. That's a picture of downtown Sanford. This is a square. This is one of our CRA projects. We put in about $850,000 to redo that square. What we do: infrastructure 70%, grants 20%, promotions 5%. Which is sort of a typical CRA. So the problem we had, we've put about $14 million in the last 10 to 12 years into redoing the downtown and the waterfront. And I must say, Sanford really does look good downtown. We've done a good job. We thought what's supposed to happen is that we put all this money in, the public infrastructure looks great, the private building owners say, you know, we better fix up our buildings to look as good as the downtown looks. And that was 5 years ago. And we're still waiting for that to happen. So we decided in the last 5 years of our CRA, we put some more effort into promoting the rehabilitation of the private buildings. So the deteriorating buildings have hindered commercial development. We need to balance priorities between the historic preservation and economic development. And generally it goes, if you decide between the two, you go for historic preservation. So what we did was put an innovative program, and we really need to have it as a bit of a shock value. So we decided to subsidize loans that are used to renovate our downtown buildings, and we did it at a very high level. And we basically give an upfront cash grant that pays down the interest on a 20-year renovation loan down to 1%. That works out to about a third of what the total loan would be. So it offers an equivalent of about a 35% subsidy. The loans of up to $300,000 are eligible. And I'll talk in a little while how successful this has been. We've now had 3 loans that we've approved at the full amount of $100,000 each. The loan is paid in, sorry, the grant is paid in full at the loan closing, using into an escrow account, even though that's not necessarily the case. And secured by a lien which is reduced by 10% per year and forgiven after 10 years. The only reason we do that is because these grants are substantial. They can be up to $120,000. We don't want someone taking our money, fixing up their building, and then turning around and selling it in 6 months. So that's the reason that lien is there. General criteria will attract potentially successful business, so generate new commercial activity. Renovation will diversify the retail commercial mix. Renovation will revitalize the area. And it must be the property owner who applies, which has caused problems, but they're really, at a loan this large, we really can't do it. So the owner wishes to rehabilitate a structure at a cost of $150,000. The market rate loan is available at 6.5% over 20 years. The city offers a loan subsidy of $57,450, which is 6.5% minus 1% means that we're paying an interest difference amortized over 20 years of 5.5% interest. The only thing we're thinking of changing is this actual computation at the bottom. It looks very simple. In fact, this is one of the most complicated calculations that I've had to do. There's only one person who knows how to do it, and that's our finance director. And if we ever lose her, we're going to be in big trouble. So we're actually looking to simplify that. Where in fact we're giving a 35-cent subsidy. Why don't we just say it's a 35% subsidy? So the $57,450 loan lien is held on the property, reduced by 1/120th each month for 10 years. So what happened was, we put this into effect about 1 year and 2 months ago. It was based on a request from somebody who was buying one of our historic buildings. It's the Sanford Opera building, which is about 120 years old, and has been unoccupied for 30 years. She moved into this building. The building cost was about $350, and this is why this is a great time to bring this program in. That building was on the market for $750,000 for nearly 5 years. Went down to $350, which allowed her to buy it, and then she just needed the money to do the renovations. She needed our loan, our subsidy to help get the equity to do the renovation loan. So that was our first one. The problem we had, she took out a classic 20-year fixed rate loan to do the building. Of the 3 projects we have approved and the 2 additional ones which are in the pipeline, none of them meet that model. They're all different. You've got non-traditional loans, you've got people drawing on credit lines, you've got variable rate loans, you've got fixed rate loans. So we decided to do a new ordinance, and we basically relaxed the criteria to make any type of loan eligible. And what we do is establish an artificial rate, which we now have at 7%, which no matter what the loan you take out and what loan you're paying, we will give you the subsidy based on this if it would be a 7% loan. And that has worked out quite well. So we revised the ordinance to allow for flexibility, computing the grant to the equivalent of a 20-year payout on a non-traditional loan. So if you take out a line of credit for $250,000 to do your building, we will take that as if it's a 20-year loan, and that's how we calculate the amount. Of course, that loan has to be actually used for the renovation of the building. That's the other criteria. Now, this is an area which our CRA had never entered in before, which was actually subsidizing private building owners. And so we needed a retreat to think through various scenarios. One thing I've learned about being in government is whenever you think about the most complicated scenario and the most worst case scenario, chances are that will be the first one you're going to face, and that's normally what happens with us. So this is just a few examples of various situations we have. Building owner renovates his building without the prospect of an immediate tenant. We decide that is acceptable. An existing building with an operating business is renovated to increase its historic integrity and to allow the operation of an alternative business with a higher return and greater job creation. That meets our criteria. A building is renovated to resolve code enforcement issues with no business and job being created. That one is on a case-by-case basis. Because as you probably know, you have a situation with these code enforcement fines, which are sometimes up to the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Should this program just be used so someone can get around a code enforcement fine? Well, number 4 is quite interesting. A single loan is advanced for a business operating in 2 buildings operated by a partnership. One building is owned by a partner, the other one is leased. You think, what are the possible chances you'd ever have that situation come up? That was the second application that we had. So in the end, we subsidized only the one building that was owned, and then they had to reimburse their partner who was leasing the building next door. An historic building is renovated by a nonprofit with no business anticipated, no public access is allowed. That hasn't come up yet, but chances are it would depend on the historic preservation value of that project. Chances are it would not be approved unless it was a substantial benefit to the community. And the last one, a building with no historic value is renovated, allowing a business to operate, creating numerous jobs. Chances are that would also be approved. But it's basically a balance between the historic preservation and the commercial value. The results, ordinance passed December 2008. 3 grants have been approved totaling $275,000. A dance studio and historic opera building. Magnolia Market, which will be the first food store in Sanford in over 50 years. So that's going to open up next month. 115 West Retail Development is another development which took a completely dilapidated block and now has a very vital retail area in it. They received a $110,000 grant. I have another one who just came in 2 days ago who wants a loan to redo one of our downtown buildings, and he wants it done as soon as possible. It'll be going to our board next month, and we hope to have the loan finished the month after that. So this, I think if nothing else, the fact that these grants are so large really attracts attention. And oh, by the way, the reason we do this as a loan is that we need the bank to be there to do the due diligence. The fact that they've gone through the process and the bank is reviewing the process and has screened them helps us when we're doing our due diligence. We funded the program at $500,000 last year and this year, and we'll probably continue doing that for the foreseeable future. That, by the way, is probably the third largest expenditure we have in the CRA after our two major streetscape projects. And you're talking about getting the word out. We just approved this 2 weeks ago. This is going to be a mail out we're sending to every building owner in the city. The situation we have with building owners, and I always like giving these presentations because it very rarely gets back to my original city. We have either out-of-town building owners who are sometimes as far away as Korea. We have old families who've held these buildings for generations, and I guess the best word to describe them would be cantankerous, and they basically don't want to do anything about anything. And then we have new people moving into the community who are buying these buildings as sort of a project of love. This program is really for that third category. It's in order to incentivize them to be able to afford the building and then do the plans to renovate them that they want to do. And if you like, I really like, this was done by my assistant. I really like this, free money won't last, time is running out. So, and that's, and it's working. Since this is, even since we haven't even done the mail out yet, but since we had the publicity about that, I've had 2 more people approach me to redo some of their buildings. So this program really is turned out to be very successful. And we've had no bad repercussions, and you can see the results in some of these buildings that have been renovated. And I apologize, I'm even a worse photographer than my colleague from Winter Park, so I don't even have a picture of the buildings yet, or else I'll do it next time. So I guess that's the end of the presentation. If